Good morning and welcome to the Leighton Roundtable on cutting edge technology trends. Today, we're going to talk about a lot of the most important trends that we're seeing today in the marketplace with four of our expert speakers here today. And to introduce those speakers, may I hand you over to Caroline, who will introduce them for us today.
Thank you, Charles. Hello, everyone. I am delighted to introduce this second roundtable of our summit, and which is dedicated to cutting edge tech trends. Beyond the subject, which is quite exciting, I must say, I'm very proud to, and we are very proud to have brought together such incredible speakers from all around Europe. So let me introduce them. I start with you, Mitko Vasilev. So you are a technologist at Microsoft and responsible for working on a number of cutting-edge technology projects, such as 5G, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So welcome, Mitko. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Saúl Fava, you are the Vice President of Digital Energy Business at Schneider Electric in Italy, where you work on digital building and automation in energy and grid management. So thank you for being with us, Saúl.
Thank you. Thank you for having invited me. Hello to everybody.
Jaume López, you are a digital general manager at DXC Technology in Barcelona. And DXC is a leading global provider of enterprise IT services and solutions. Thank you for being there, Jaume.
Thank you very much to invite us, and it will be a good session to share all the knowledge with such colleagues, and also to share with all the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jaume. And Kerem Sozugerec, I hope I pronounced it good.
That was good. That was good.
Okay, thanks. You are the CTO and co-founder of DeepZen, which leverage AI and natural voice programming to automate long-form audiobooks, amongst other applications. So thank you very much, Kerem, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I'm happy to be here.
And thank you so much for that introduction.
Sorry, Charles, just 1 minute more. So for those who already know Leighton, you know that we help businesses finance their R&D and innovation. And the majority of our 1,700 employees are engineers and scientists. And obviously, they're passionate about innovation and technology. And with this summit, we aim at sharing this passion, but also gathering insights on R&D innovation. And as such, maybe help give a new outlook for our clients. So on the first roundtable, we talked about classic subjects like cybersecurity, for instance, but more interestingly, of inclusive design as a necessity for digital transformation. So very interesting subjects already been shared. And that's why I'm so happy that almost 500 guests are following this summit today. And I am now going to quickly leave the floor to Charles and our speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Caroline, and a very warm welcome to all of our guests today. Technology is the dominant theme of our times. It touches every part of our daily lives. Some 4.5 billion people now have access to the internet, and everything from our supply chains to our finances to our daily lives are touched by technology. Remarkably, the largest US technology companies, known as the FANGs, so Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google, have a collective market capitalization bigger than the GDP of France or UK today. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought into focus, greater than before, the increasingly important role that technology plays in our day-to-day lives. In just a matter of weeks, the way that we work, the way that we live, and the way that we communicate changed quite radically. And most importantly, the way that we work changed too. In today's roundtable, we look at the latest cutting-edge trends in technology and what they mean for us all, with our expert guests who bring their unique perspectives from different industries and different technologies to the trends that shape our future today. So starting off, as I mentioned, 2020 was a quite remarkable year for all of us. And one of the key things I'd be very keen to learn from our guests here today is what were the lessons that they have learned as a business and the key technology trends that have impacted their industry during 2020 and how they've learned from those. And I'm going to start off with Saúl, please.
Thanks, Charles. When we talk about Schneider, we are talking about, in the industry of Schneider, we're talking about a large company where our industry is spread across different segment and market segment. We're talking about data center, infrastructure, buildings, industry, and also our footprint is very large because our market is quite complex. We are working with a large ecosystem of partners, including electrician from EPC contractor, end user investor, industry segment with different sides. And having said that, the lesson learned that we got in our so large, in this so large market environment is the importance of digital interaction. And the second thing is the needs of a clear IoT strategy to strengthen business relation. Stay focusing on the digital interaction with the so large ecosystem of players and partners. It was key during 2020 to be ready to continue to work with this partner, with these end users, with these customers, to work around solution that that help the customer to fight against lockdowns, social distance, and even to strengthen business resilience. On the other, that means that we have accelerated all those initiatives that are today part of Schneider strategy to increase the number of connected customers, to increase the number of asset under management, and everything go around remote management of assets and plants. Because we need to help our customer even remotely to optimize and to continue to strengthen the operation of their business. In the terms of IoT, this is strictly related. We discovered the importance to have a clear IoT strategy. That means that there is need to be a framework that starts from any single subsystem in the factory, in a building that provide data to the upper level to have a holistic approach on business resilience. So these 2 points related. So business resilience combined with the needs to stay close to our customer and to really lever and to boost digital way to interact with our channels. We do this. We did this with thanks to let's say augmented reality approaches, virtual environment where we can help to continue to work around solution that our customer can bring to market to serve their customers, or we can serve it directly to let's say to a strength remote approach to this to the solution.
Thank you, Saúl. And can I just bring in Jaume at this this moment in time, because Jaume, obviously your company advises a large number of large organisations around the world and medium-sized organisations as to their technology. Are you seeing these sort of trends? Are you seeing these same sort of challenges that your clients are facing in terms of what happened in 2020?
Yes, thank you. Let me to start not from a technology point of view on the lesson learned on the 2020. From my point of view, the most important thing that I have learned, we have learned in the 2020 is the sense of the society that can collaborate to be winners or to be succeed in a such situation where we found ourselves in the beginning of 2020. And as you remember, in 2020, when the pandemic starts, all the healthcare system would collapse, and a lot of people around the world start collaboration using technology to solve the problems. And I think that this is the most important thing that we learned on the 2020. This sense of community, this sense of being part of something that we can use a technology to collaborate, no matter where we are. Okay, that's my first point. That's the point that shocks me a lot. My company, we start talking about people every day, and start talking about business or revenue or projects. It's about but our people is safety or not, our people, how we can do to improve the safety of our people. And this is something that shocks me because it's a completely change of our mentality, of our point of view. Okay, then let's go to the technology side on that. Okay, that's from our conversation. First of all, working from everywhere, working from anywhere. People was delocalized. We in a couple of days we help our customers to go home, and this was a really change on the mindset of the people. That accelerate digitalization, that accelerate the collaboration, that makes a productivity step on in our lives. And this is coming to, this will be maintained. That's my first point. That's the way we operate. That's the way we work in our companies. Just change completely. I am working from home. Our customers are working from home, and we are much effective in this way. And there is a lot of tools. We learn a lot of tools. This session, for example, we never mind 2 years ago to make this kind of session live, so everything is the way, okay. But also other things that came that are scaring me, like security, for example. To talk about just earlier on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has been a concern that also is growing during this year. And for me, the third element that is really changing the game. Okay, we need to rethink our systems, like in the security, not as the last layer to be built, but to be intrinsic in every layer that we come as we build the systems that we make the architecture working. Okay, that's my 5 cents on this area.
Thank you very much, Jaume. And I think it'd be quite interesting to get the perspective of you know, I'm going to ask Kerem at this point in time, because I think what I'd be quite interested in is whether or not it's accelerated that sort of digitalization piece for, you know, the sort of, you know, the more dare I say, not so much startups, but very technology-oriented businesses such as DeepZen, and whether or not you suddenly found that there was an increased interest in the elements you were doing, or an increased focus in general in technology in 2020. I don't know if that's something that you've seen, Kerem.
Yeah, happy to talk about it. That's actually one of the points that I wanted to make. So it has pros and cons, obviously, for everyone. But for businesses like us that is completely digital, that can completely be remote. And basically what we're doing is we're licensing human narrator voices and then using them on an AI platform. That's what we do, right? And then what happened with the lockdown was that a lot of studios shut down. A lot of narrators were not able to go to the studios anymore. So there was a lack of there was a high need for voiceovers where it wasn't being covered. So yes, from that perspective, it did help us. It actually accelerated our contract signings with some of the largest publishers. And so it did help us in some way. And so, yeah, we've been on the luckier side from a business perspective. Having said that, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of lessons to take in, but not take from this, but not all lessons are good. One of the lessons that we've learned, which is, I would say, on the more negative side, is that now we are being forced to become more and more digital. It's good from a business perspective, yes, but for a societal perspective, it's actually quite the opposite, because all of a sudden we are being pushed from being social, going to the local stores, going to the restaurants, to going to the retail stores for shopping, to completely online businesses, because it's easy now. It's been a year, and it's becoming a habit for everyone to order online rather than going to the store, because it's just easier. So that's going to create, I guess, a negative impact in the society, that people are going to be more used to being isolated, which is the downside of things. And there will be recovery, obviously, but I think because the business mentality has changed, it will also push human behavior in a more isolated way, and that's going to be, I think that's going to have some impact. That it's hard to predict what it is at this point.
Just to bring Mitko in at this point in time, because Mitko, you work for Microsoft, which obviously is one of those tech giants I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
And I'd be interested to get your perspective as to how you feel 2020 has sort of shaped the thinking at Microsoft and the sort of technologies you're looking at, and whether or not that slightly changed your focus as an organization in terms of what you're exploring and those sort of areas that you think are going to come down the track in the future, because of these very valid points that Kerem has talked about around the fact that people are fundamentally changing their shopping habits, the way they communicate, and businesses are changing the way that they operate, the way they use energy, the way they use Internet of Things. So I'd just be curious to get your perspective on what it means for you and your clients.
So 2020 was unprecedented. Our first focus was actually to help the society, because we had to move millions of students to start studying online using Teams. So we actually donated a number of accounts, and we were helping physically schools actually to move the students to start studying. Then we started working with the business, recovering the supply chain, because all these unprecedented events, they have broken the supply chain on a global level. So for us to reboot the economy after factories are closed or we cannot export from certain countries, we were working with many customers actually to completely digitize the supply chain, make it much more robust. As we discussed, everything got accelerated, and what we have seen, I mean, the vision is the same. So the vision did not change. It's just we changed the horizon. So what was horizon 2, let's say in 10 years of now, actually moved to 2022. So we have seen same vision, same strategy, same execution, but accelerated by a decade. And again, first focus was help the society. The second focus was help actually the businesses to reboot, help people retrain, because obviously a lot of changes happened. A lot of people obviously got staying at home and got job loss. So we've been looking actively to support them, get digital skills as soon as possible, being kind of changing to what comes from the society, changing the job profile, changing their know-how. So that was the focus of 2020, bring 2030 into 2022.
And Mitko, what does that mean in terms of the actual technologies which are likely to come to the fore now? We're talking today about cutting edge technologies, which have really been accelerated. What do you see over the next 5 years as being the sort of key trends that have been accelerated by 2020 and we're now going to be talking about for the next 5 years?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. What we've seen a lot of automation, so robotic process automation, which we were expecting that is going to happen much further in time. Actually now working together with the people who are at the work, because obviously a lot of companies have been keeping, let's say, just partially the staff was working, let's say 20%, or they had the short weeks. So how do you actually can keep up the business when everyone is working only 3 days a week? So that was one of the focus areas, how automation can help everyone. Cloud was unbelievable. So what we have seen was 3-digit growth in the cloud usage. I mean, that kind of acceleration was not expected by anyone. Even internally, we had actually to release resources for the customers. So everything that we have been using internally to validate, prototype, test, develop, we had to release it for the customers so we actually can reboot the businesses as soon as possible. A lot of AI, I mean, machine learning, definitely, because everyone will start looking how to optimize the processes, how to optimize the supply chain, how to optimize the business they've been doing as we speak. And we are so lucky that by far machine learning is becoming more and more commodity. So the best algorithms are open source. It's all about actually working effectively with the data. So thanks to the time we live in, actually businesses were much faster in implementing smart technologies, getting better insights, being able to navigate all these changes with closed countries, closed borders, factories closing down. So by far, automation and machine learning, artificial intelligence have been on the boom.
Great. And actually, it sort of leads on nicely to ask Kerem a question, because given what DeepZen does, which is the creation of long form books using some of these technologies you've talked about, presumably that process has been accelerated to a huge extent because people have been lockdown. They may not have been going out buying books in the same way they may have taken up audio books far more. Kerem, have you seen this sort of key trend really accelerated by this?
Yeah, I mean, it was already accelerating prior to this. The demand for audiobooks have been increasing year over year, around 30% for the past 6-7 years. And for demand for ebooks and regular books, it's actually stable around 2%. So people are really moving to audio. And obviously with this, people had more time on their hands, you know, because they were not able to be social, as it did definitely require, and it did accelerate the mentality in people's minds, in the business's mind, that, you know, publish books, that this needs to be accelerated, because there's inherently a problem with the way audiobooks are created today. It's a long process, it's an expensive process, and what's happening is that there's a huge demand, but there isn't nearly enough supply to cover that. So you need alternative technologies to actually accelerate that. And the only way you can do today is using artificial intelligence. You cannot really scale with humans fast enough if you want to create long form audio content.
I have to say, I did go to your website and I listened to some of the books, and I listened actually to Emma. You've got a sample of Emma. It's fantastic. I'd recommend anyone to definitely go and check it out. It's unnervingly good. And I say this as an Englishman. Saul, can I pull you in at this moment in time, because SE is known as a real leader in Internet of Things. How do you see that and other sort of key industry trends affecting your particular industry over the next 5 years?
Good point, Charles. I will answer to your question, highlighting what are the needs of the market that we will see starting from 2020. I will summarize that in our market, companies and customers are wondering how they can improve their efficiency to be more competitive, also to regain the market and the productivity and that they lost in 2020. How can they improve their productivity? And in case of buildings, how can extract value from their building to be more effective, more smart, and even more productive for the tenants? How can they strengthen resilience in their business? This is the key point, because they want to be resilient, want to be more effective, and want to be more competitive. And for sure, at least in Europe, looking at the trend that are arriving, how can they be more sustainable? So I can really turn and leverage sustainability as a business differentiator in their business. So these are the 4 topics that our customers are asking, and this is the way that our market is going to evolve in the next coming year. For sure, cybersecurity is the ground on this. So having said that, there are these market needs. What will be the future in our industry? I'm pretty sure that the answer to their needs comes through a large adoption of IoT development. That when I say IoT, I mean across all the IoT chain, from the products that must be master and ready, and sensors that are able to connect data and information through those systems that at the edge level are able to extract value, to enable operation, to enable productivity, to the upper layer of analytics and artificial intelligence that really can help human decision and even can fast decision, managing a large amount of data. So stepping to in more detail, we expect that also thanks to the money that and the investment that European government has putting in place to sustain industrial digitalization. For instance, only in Italy, we are talking about 25 billion of incentives voted to support the transition 0.0, so industry 0.0 in our market. So we will see a development of digital twin usage to make models, to make modeling on processes, to fast learn and adapt. We will see also a large diffusion of industrial optimization system, what we call MIS, or everything that's needed to improve the efficiency on the production side. And moving to the buildings, we will be seeing adoption of BIM system, modeling system, in order to be smarter in the way that we build and project and design buildings to be really sustainable and comfortable for the tenant. So in a nutshell, everything that goes toward to digitization that allow our industry to be more digital, more effective, and more productive, because we in Europe, we have to regain the competition versus other, let's say, the America and China, because we are talking about, for instance, reshoring of our factory, and everything must be supported by technologies from the both level of the products up to the artificial intelligence. We need to be all the chain that is really connected through effective flow of data, moving from data to usable information to support decision in an effective way.
So Saul, just so that our audience understands, do you think people, companies will move towards having smart buildings in the over the next 5 years, that this will become a very key part of their strategy, and particularly their, not just their technology, but as you said, their sustainability strategy, the ability to report and manage energy effectively, and then also report that to their stakeholders like shareholders and people like that?
Exactly, Charles, because when we're talking about automation, we're talking about intelligence of a process of a building, and intelligence helps to close and to proper manage energy. So as soon as we are automated and intelligent in managing our plant and installation, our production, our buildings, as soon we will be able to really stay close to the energy demand and assure that we are managing energy in the proper way and in effective way.
And Jaume, can I just bring you in here, Jaume, because I think one of the sort of interesting things is that these technologies are so exciting to businesses. As Saul said, you can fundamentally transform things like energy usage. You can become more competitive. Your company advises a lot of large companies. Is there a risk that companies see technology as a panacea, a solution to everything, and that maybe there are other things that they need to look at, such as operating models, or are they ready for this technology? What are your thoughts?
That's a very good question, okay? Because at the end, the technology is helping the company to build the things that my colleagues are rated for: resiliency, optimization, or sustainability. Okay. In our country, we see a higher relevance on the technology side inside the companies. More and more, the boards are taking care on technology side and how the technology is helping them to build all of that. That means that the digital transformation is becoming more normal. It's becoming really in the center of the discussions. And this is bad for me, because digital general manager, okay, that my role will disappear. Okay, that's good, but it's a fact. Okay, that's the point. Digital is no matter when, it's matter when you will arrive to that. Okay. I see three industries that are taking advantage from that. I think the energy industry, some electrification, or they have a huge future on the forecast, on changing the way we use, we generate, we distribute all the energy. It's a huge change on the electrification point of view. Also linked to the European Green Deal. It's very linked to that, and that this is something that will change the way we operate. For sure, healthcare and life science will be maintained as an industry that will produce the new technologies right now. They show with vaccines industry, but they will develop a lot of new elements to help to be prepared for the new pandemic. No matter, but this is not the question now. Is when the new pandemic will come about. We will close this problem next year or not. That's and the healthcare industry is working heavily on that. And the third area is the 5G, is the communication, the communication that will change our lives. And we hope, we expect that it will change our lives, okay? But if we are not talking on these industries that are really the top, and we talk about our also get companies, I think that I found three elements in these companies. Okay, one thing is a huge willing to modernization. Just Mitko said, they are tripling the consuming in cloud. Customers understand that the new way of operation is based on agility, on making flexible, and this starts from the infrastructure and the applications. Software is being changed. Software is being changed and is being modernized. No matter, it's about timing. It's about response. Okay, that's something that we are really touching with our customers. These kind of things. Okay, and in other sides, automation that's mentioned now. Soul, that's one point, and AI everywhere. And the last thing, I think that it was just one thing that it was not mentioned for my colleagues is blockchain. Blockchain is something that will help changing the way the economy is working. It will be possible for the companies to trust on others companies without an intermediary point. And if we are able to take this huge help from the European and the States on this change of the economy, and we are using this kind of technology like blockchain in order to help the collaboration between the companies, not only the big corporations, but at the small and medium-sized companies level, I think that we will achieve the objectives that is the recovery of the economy for next year.
Jaume, I think you've picked up some very important points here. How important is it for companies that want to implement these technologies to sort of build the infrastructure, to have the right people internally, to have the right structure, to get buy-in from the CEO, all those sort of elements? Because I think everyone on this roundtable agrees that technology can provide immense benefits, but what's stopping companies from really making it work today?
Right now, I start seeing that the companies it's working in two levels. Okay, but a huge level of a huge number of companies are talking with other companies in order to build new ecosystems, in order to change how the economy, how we can transform. Because right now, each company has been seeing only the industry, and the industry are dead. It's changing really to ecosystems of mobility, ecosystems of entertainment, ecosystems of finance, ecosystems on leisure. Okay, that's all the healthcare, and this is something that is changed. The business orientation of the companies is a broader collaboration. Understand that a broader collaboration can bring better things to the society and also for the numbers, and internally to the company. To the company, the IT talking with their peers on the finance, on logistics, on supply chain, on production is bringing an acceleration on how to use technology, like in Soul, for example. IoT by itself doesn't matter; it doesn't brings nothing, and the people of business need to talk on people on IT in order to build together this solution. Because if not, it will be probably that they will not get all the insights they need to be successful.
Mitko, can I bring you in here, because you're a technologist, so you are on the technology side. Do you find that you, I mean, Microsoft obviously is well known as a leader in innovation. Do you have the right structure, the buy-in from the business, all those elements you need to go and develop these technologies? Just be interested to get the perspective, your perspective on that.
Yes, so definitely every company is becoming a technology company nowadays. So I don't think there is a question if there is a buy-in from the C-level whether to implement technologies. An interesting trend that definitely I have seen in a number of customers is that different business units are now actually start implementing technology solutions themselves. So they obviously partner with their internal IT, but they're also starting putting talent, so technical talent, with the vertical knowledge that they have around some very specific element out of their business. And they're starting to build Internet of Things solutions, like, as Saul said, digitizations of buildings, huge topic at the moment. Not only because the net zero agenda of each and every company, and now we have the race actually, who is actually going to become carbon neutral earlier. Like Microsoft, we are committed to become carbon neutral by 2030. And by 2050, which is kind of the global net zero target here, we also want to remove all the carbon dioxide that we have produced from the founding of the company in 1975. And then how do you do that? It's obviously you're adding much more sensors. What we have seen, a lot of portfolio companies are now starting to implement sensing across the buildings. They're starting to understand how these buildings are used as occupancy utilization. The companies are start using that data also to improve safety. So contract tracing, understanding which teams are working where. Well-being is a huge topic at the moment, because obviously it's a huge mental challenge for everyone, work from home or flex working, all these dynamics. So everyone's looking, okay, how we can actually use sensing so we can understand what's the temperature, what's the lighting, the quality of the air within the office space. So when someone goes and works 2 days or 3 days a week, how this will affect his kind of well-being. And it goes over and over. So we see, as we said, business units getting the buy-in, getting the budgets, hiring talents outside of IT, and then start building specific IoT or AI machine learning solutions.
Actually, there's an important point you brought up there, and actually Saul mentioned it earlier, so I'd like to go back to that, which is you mentioned about attracting talent. One of the points is clearly we're in a globally competitive market now for talent.
Yes.
You know, how does Europe and even Silicon Valley deal with the rise of the East in terms of technology and attracting the best people? Also, another sort of question to throw in here, which is, I'm very conscious that technology is still quite male dominated. How do we get more women to be in technology?
So what we have seen for the past decade, the biggest companies in the world have been competing with the small garages all over the planet, where you have a small startup building something very specific, because thanks to the internet, you can actually get a global presence. And the biggest company of the future probably is two-person company at the moment, the CEO and the CTO. So the guy who can speak. And it is obviously now with work from everywhere, everything is changing even more, and everything is getting even more accelerated, because more and more companies are actually applying the work from everywhere policy. And what we see also, US companies are start hiring remotely in Europe or Asia, and then they're integrating all that talent as part of the product development or services development that they already have. Something not seen before. Silicon Valley was a good question, because we see a lot of people now leaving Silicon Valley. So if you follow Twitter, you definitely see more and more people kind of choose to go in different direction, start working remotely. Asia is booming. I mean, a lot of technology by itself. There are huge markets, like China is a market by itself. So we see more and more companies actually built and designed to work only for the China market, because it's so big. And then what we see is also a lot of companies from Europe now expanding to Asia, because in Asia, obviously, the businesses restarted earlier, the factories restarted earlier, they had the supply chain operational earlier, so everything is much more dynamically working today. So we see a lot of businesses from Europe actually pushing a lot of their operations to Asia, growing the business presence in China, which was also unprecedented in the past. And the talent hiring is so exciting. I mean, it never happened in my professional life of 21 years that you actually can work at any place for almost any interesting company at the moment. Of course, it takes time also for the companies to adapt hiring remotely, change their culture, because moving from a culture of working in the office to a remote first culture, it takes a certain amount of time, but we're getting there. So extremely exciting to be in the tech area.
And Kerem, if I can bring you in at this point, I mean, clearly, if you're doing something as exciting as you're doing, you have to attract some of the best people. I mean, how do you go about attracting the best people to come and work for you?
Yeah, so that's why we're a company of 22 people and we're all distributed. You can't expect to hire everyone in locally, right? We're, I think, across 8 countries. So a lot of people are working remotely, and most of the people that are working remotely they have PhDs in artificial intelligence. So yeah, I mean, you can't, if you need to attract the best talent in the world, which we do in our case, because there's literally a limited number of people who can help DeepZen achieve what it's trying to do. You can't really pick a geography, right? You need to just make it work. And that's what we've done since the beginning. Obviously, now it's even more distributed after the pandemic. Now we haven't been to our London office in a year, and now we're continuing to hire actually from across the ocean and in Asia and all over the place. So yeah, that's the only way you can scale, especially when you need highly skilled workers, highly skilled people.
Great. I'm just going to slightly steer the topic onto something that we talked about a little bit earlier, which is a very, very strong theme that's come through on our discussion today, which is around sustainability, around net zero. We've actually had a question in from one of the audience who wants to ask Mitko, and it's a slightly controversial question, I guess. Is there a difference in behavior between companies from the north part of Europe and the south? And I'm conscious that we've got people on this panel from the north part of Europe and people from the south, and some of us from a country which thinks it's partly in Europe and thinks it's partly not in Europe. So Mitko, any thoughts on that?
Yes, so excellent question, Romain. What we see is definitely North is ahead with their change, because not only they have started earlier, but they have put the net zero much earlier on the, let's say, board level agenda, because I've been working with a lot of Nordic countries and also Central European countries like West Europe, and they have put the net zero and getting carbon neutral a couple of years ahead, let's say, than the companies who are headquartered in the south of Europe. And that early start actually helps you to be faster with the target dates. But I see everyone's now working on the same pace, because 2020 was eye-opening about how important it is actually to focus on the climate and the climate change, because something as one pandemic and one virus actually took the whole planet out of the typical daily motion. So just think about what's going to be the change once we actually get to inevitable climate change, kind of catastrophic events probably in the future. So all these companies started working now on the same pace. Maybe the South European companies will have enough time to catch up with the North, just speaking about the European market. So everyone will be able to keep up the target date for net zero, and also to move the dates backwards, as we are doing at Microsoft. So walking backwards and trying to put much more renewable energy, let's say, as we speak, go fully renewable by 2025. So more and more companies, they see they're committing to go fully renewable for the upcoming 3 to 5 years, which is like a big step forward. So it's all about keeping the pace.
Excellent. I want to bring in Saúl at this moment in time, because I know that SE are one of the leaders in sustainability and pushing net zero targets. So I'd just be curious to understand what SE is doing in terms of sustainability, what it's doing with its clients to help hit these sort of net zero targets. And we talked a little bit about this earlier. Saúl, if you can give us a little bit more detail around that too.
Thanks, Charles. In fact, we are being recognized by Knight's Corporation. It's a Canadian research company, as the first #1 corporation in our segment among the global 100 most sustainable corporation in the world. So I would say that this is a result of our strong commitment to achieve sustainability, and we raise the bar really high. We want to, with the concrete goals that we want to achieve within 2025. For instance, we want to have at least 80% of our revenue coming from let's say, sustainable and green solution put on the market through our partners and to our customers. We want to save around more than 800 million tons of CO2 with a strong engagement of suppliers. We have worked today with more than 1,000 suppliers, and we want also to increase the 50% of our greens of green products in our packages. 100% in our packages and 50% of green products in our material use in our product that we put on the market. So I can say that we want to be sustainable. We believe that being sustainable, this helps us, and this has, I say, to leave to our future generation, my kids, a better world in the hand, but also this help also to grow the economies, identifying new space where we can extract value from the market, and also we can help customers and countries to be more responsible, both from environment perspective and also in terms of, and Mitko was saying before, in terms of social responsibility and well-being of people. So I would say that sustainability is the new rooms where we can find a way of grow, where to grow in a sustainable way, being effective and being affordable for people and from companies. This is where we are investing a lot of resources, and this is the space where we want to be recognized both by customer and by supplier as a player, because we want to play this game with a large ecosystem of company that in fact believe in this in the same goals, because at the end, sustainable environment means sustainable company, sustainable benefits to the social, to the sociality, to the environment, and also to the people that are in the society.
Thanks very much, Saul. Jaume, is this the same sort of issue that you're seeing? You mentioned earlier that in terms of some of the sort of key themes that your clients are really worried about and what they're wanting from technology. Sustainability seems to be one of those key themes. We have COP26 coming up in November this year. We have a president of the United States who has signed the Paris Accord and is coming back to engage with the world. Suddenly, sustainability is back on the agenda. Net zero is back on the agenda. Do your clients understand the role of technology in helping to take them there, or are they just starting on that journey?
I agree completely with my colleagues, and sustainability is back on the table, and this is one of the most difficult elements, or they will be almost transformational elements from my point of view. Okay, this is as Mitko said, on the audience, also from the question from Spain point of view, we relied several years ago on the renewable technology energy. Okay, that was a huge investment on our side, and I think Spain is recognized one of the most usage of renewable energy. It was in eolic, in solar, in offshore. Okay, but it is not enough. Okay, that means that we need to embrace now. There's a lot of embracing on the hydrogen energy, for example, starting in this way, in order to ensure that we can make all the electrification. A lot of companies are changing the drive to this new kind of business or orientation. Okay, that starts on the electrification because the electrification is a common goal for everyone. Because at the end, it will help the circular economy. It will help the localization. One problem we have in Spain is also the concentration on the big cities and making the rural, the countryside with less population. And this is something that we are trying to change this way, or this change by helping things like this. Okay, it is also how to be sustainable. Also, We are having a huge investment on communication networks, helping the fiber communications to arrive every small town, every single place on the country, also to help. And this is just the pieces that can build a better society, or a society that will be more equal. Okay? That's the point.
That's a very interesting point you raised, because technology has tended to be driven out of the major cities and major urban centres globally, which may have more in common with other urban centres globally. And this is a general question actually I put to all of our panel, is that how can we use technology to create equality, to break down barriers, to allow people around the world to communicate with each other? We talked earlier about this incredible opportunity that that anyone, anywhere can now communicate through the internet, through 5G, these new technologies, which means that someone in Africa will be able to work just as effectively as someone in Sweden. What is it we need to do to help drive this equality further? I'll start with you.
I think that what we need to do is to maintain the pace on this way, because digital is helping the society in this way. It's what digital is what about. Digital is what to help the people to communicate across, no matter where, to access the services and to access the products, no matter where they are, no matter who they are, or whatever this is. It makes us, it equalizes the opportunities to all the people. It doesn't matter what you are born, what do you live, and it's only a matter about your talent and how to use all these tools. And what we need is to maintain the acceleration on this. It's I think for sure the life our life, or the civilization will be better if we are using this kind of using this. But this is a big responsibility, but also a big threat, okay, and in our hands. In Spain, for example, now the discussion is on the digital rights. All this digitalization, it's against our privacy. We are not sure about that, okay? And the ethics on AI, how can we assure that all the algorithms that we are building are ethics by design? It will not be any kind of the problems on that. It is something that digitalization makes us equals, or same opportunities to achieve, but also it's in our duties to ensure that we respect privacy, we respect the digital rights of the people, and this is something that it is not really happening now. We are lucky to live in Europe, lucky or not, but we live in Europe where the GDPR is a huge step forward. This sides, but it is not the same in the States or in Asia. And pandemic shows really in Asia, pandemic seems that it's more control, but at what price? That's a question.
I'm going to bring in Kerem at the moment, because ethics, AI, then has this incredible tool which replicates language. We've seen lots of conversations around deep fakes. I don't know if any of you managed to see the situation yesterday where an American lawyer got stuck with a filter on, a cat filter, when he was he had to present to a judge and he couldn't get the cat filter off, and he had to reassure the judge that he wasn't a cat. Technology does throw out lots of challenges in terms of ethics, fakes, deep fakes. So my question to you, Kerem, is does technology need to be regulated? Do we need to think about ethics before we do things?
Yes, I mean, it's like when you say regulation, it's a really tough thing to discuss, right? Regulation might all over mean just too much power, maybe from governments and everything. So that's a touchy subject. But yes, there needs to be something. I don't know what it is, but right now with AI, it makes it possible to create a lot of fake things, and then including our technology. If it's really up to the companies at the moment to be ethical, to be open about what they do. And so that's a tricky subject. On the big tech companies, on the social media, connected to the previous comment, is that right now, as you know, we definitely have the infrastructure, all the technology, all the social media, powerful companies that can actually make a significant change. However, I think it's morally because it's been profit driven. The algorithms work kind of against uniting people, and then just kind of creates a separation environment, right? And so there needs to be some kind of regulation. But how do you not over-regulate a company? Because we have democracy, right? We have democracy all over the world. So it needs to be figured out, and I think there's a lot of awareness on this that there needs to something happen, but it needs to start from the companies themselves, not from a government regulation, right? The companies need to be aware of the problem. I think most large companies, social media companies technology companies are, and they need to take that step to make a significant change, because they can easily make that change if they chose to.
Mitko, I'm going to bring you in here. Obviously, you work for a very large US company. I'm sure you thought very, very carefully as a company about ethics and your responsibilities.
Yes.
As a leading company. And I'd just be keen to get your thoughts on this issue.
So maybe to the previous question, where we've been discussing how we're bringing innovation to everyone in Africa and beyond. We just launched Azure Space to actually bring innovation on any place on Earth and beyond. So we actually have the capabilities to bring containerized data centers to any place on the planet, provide connectivity and compute resources to like the most rural areas in Africa down to the more rural areas in America, Asia, Europe. So that inclusiveness actually takes everything to the next level. And about responsibility and responsible AI, we take it super seriously at Microsoft, and we are transparent in regards to how we are tackling responsible AI and what are the principles actually that we're putting the people first. So our focus is obviously fairness. So all artificial intelligence systems in Microsoft should treat all people fairly. And we have engineering groups which actually work across the product portfolio, making sure that we're keeping the fairness, inclusiveness, safety, reliability, full transparency, accountability, privacy protection, and security across the complete portfolio of products that we're running at the moment, that we are building for the future. So responsible AI, important topic, full transparency, and something that I'm also working on. So I also have to go through trainings around responsible AI and commit to it as every employee.
Thank you, Mitko. And I'm going to move back to Saúl here, because obviously, a very important part of SE is their responsibility and sustainability. Saúl, if I could bring you in now.
Yes, I would like to add that behind the concept of sustainability and responsibility, there is the concept that I will summarize in I take care mindset. And I think that the I take care mindset is really, I mean, the key sentences that can summarize approach of sustainability and responsibility. Because if I take care on people, and I talk about gender balance, ethical behavior, at the end, people and the employee are happy to stay and to work with the company, and even they are fully empowered, and they're really meaningful in what's the behavior of the company. If we take care of business, it means in the company, it means that we are really focused on strength the business of the company in the mid-long term with the right ethical concept, avoiding any type of scandals and so on. If we take care of the environment in the territory, it means that we are leaving the next generation a better world, and we can really start to build. So I take care. I think this is the right sentence that can be applied on people, on business, and even on shareholders for companies like us that is on the market share. I would like to share with you a discussion that I had with an ESG investment fund where they talked to me that investing in a sustainable and in ESG means that you are investing in a company that is taking care on the employee, they have empowered employees, they are taking care in the organization. That means that the organization is well controlled with the right principle and ethical goals. If you take care in the right company, that this company are the ones that are avoiding and prevent these conducts both from environment perspective and business perspective. So I will come back how sustainability is so important and the responsibility is so important, because at the end, thanks to the take care mindset, we can really have robust companies and more responsible companies that are also attractive and more attractive for the talent. And I connect to the topics that you said before. Talent today are looking for companies where they recognize himself or herself in the goal, in the ethical expectation.
Fantastic, thank you very much. I'm conscious of time now. We're nearly at 11 o'clock UK time, or 12 o'clock if you're on European time. So I'm just going to look to wrap up this bit before we go into the breakout sessions. There's been some very interesting topics we've covered today. I think it's fair to say that technology sits right at the core of our day-to-day lives and the future of companies, and its role has never been more important. Now, I just have one last question to all of you before we move on, and that question is, what incentives does Europe need to put in place to make sure that this amazing technology, these amazing opportunities we have, continue to happen, and to make sure that Europe is the best place in the world to develop technology and do business? And I will start, Saul, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. What type of incentive? I mean, I will spend some words about the incentives that are going to be put on the market by the government in the European, because this is a large part. And then I will come back on the discussion that we had so far around technologies, around digitization, around IoT, around artificial intelligence, around all the topics that we discussed so far. I think that today technology already exists, or that for sure can be strengthened, for sure can be developed. The key point today is the technology transfer. So I mean that a part of the large corporation that are ready and staffed to invest, we will be able to be, and we will be successful if we as company, we are able to transfer the technologies and make it affordable and sustainable also for the mid and large organization, not only for the largest one or the early adopter. So as soon as we will be able to move from the early adopter, or let's say really smart, to a larger panel of companies, we will be successful. And we will let the market to grow and the country to grow. I think that this is the role of the incentives that government are putting in place, because thanks to the incentives and thanks to also to the role that the company, like the ones that they are around the table and therefore that they have to pay, this is the goal that we have to reach. So to foster the technology transfer, because as we were discussing, most of the technology already exists, can be, I mean, further refined, but adoption today is the key.
Mitko, can I bring you in? Any last thoughts on how to make Europe the best place?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I want to make any place in the world a best place. And that's something that I see that thanks to remote work and work from everywhere, we also have to focus also that also the other regions are doing well and they're recovering well and they have the same fair access to resources as us. So I'm living in Europe, but still working very globally. So my focus is actually to work with companies and government entities to place these incentives, not only in Europe, but also worldwide, make it sustainable for people to live on a place that they actually like to live in, to support their local economy, their local society, contribute to the local GDP. So distribute the workforce and distribute the well-being across everywhere. So by far the focus is work with businesses and individual governments everywhere, distribute the people not only in Europe, but also Asia, US, Africa, where they do enjoy to live, bring exchange culture. So the focus is work from anywhere.
Jaume, your thoughts?
Oh, I think we have no doubts. Barcelona is best place to live, to work. Okay, no, not with me. No, I think that we need to start with the culture and education. Okay, I think that the difference between Europe and States and Asia starts on the education. We have a lack of incentive or lack of focus on STEM areas. This is a show. We have 4 males in this or 5 males in this conversation, and this is not good. This is not good. We lack a lot of talent on the other side in our industry, and this is not helping us to succeed because we need more creativity. For example, we need another values in this conversation, for example. And I think that we need to start with education and in our country too, mainly in our country, mainly also. But I think that our governments and also the European Commission has understood this point that starts with the culture, and also to open the minds on entrepreneurship from the starting point of view. It's something that will change, and we expect that it is more close than not in the future, but it will be close. I think it is this one on the point.
And finally, the last word, Kerem, if you want to, I mean, obviously a very dynamic company. What incentives? What can we do to make Europe a better place for technology businesses?
I mean, I think it's already pretty good in terms of the know-how, the talent. I don't think it's any different than the US if you want to make that comparison. I think there's the difference is the mentality of the work ethics, not in a bad way, but the work mentality is different between the two regions. There's a lot more regulations in the EU, and plus even the VC mentality, for technology companies that needs to raise funds is very different in the sense that it's somewhat changing, but UK is more focused on Europe is more focused on investing in companies that are generating real revenue versus US values different things. Like you can be a company that has 100,000, 1 million users without generating a revenue, and you will become a $5 billion business, right? So it's I think from a capability perspective, I don't think there's anything different, but US has more freedom, less regulations. That makes it easier for the valuation of the companies to look very high compared to the European companies. But I think it's more about that, not necessarily because of the incentives. In terms of the incentives, actually, UK is doing a great job with incentives. I think I've been here for 6 years, and I've been amazed with the UK. What UK does with incentives for startups, whether it's financial incentives, R&D tax credit. I mean, these are very important things for startups like us, and they help us scale fast.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all so very much for your contributions. I think that's a very nice note to end on, talking about the importance of incentives and R&D tax credits. Thank you so much to our panel for their time, and I will hand you over to Caroline now.
Yeah, okay. Just before we close, I just wanted to jump in on 2 subjects. So the first is sustainability. We organized a contest last year for startups who were developing technology for a sustainable environment. And we had 5 winners that we brought to CES. And I was lucky to be there, and I tried to find any solution or trends that would be to preserve the environment. And I must say that I saw a lot of technology there, a lot of screens, a lot of IoT, a lot of cars, and so on. But there were really few technologies around the environment, to protect the environment. And the only technology I found was in the startup part, the Eureka Park. So when you get there and you think that tomorrow is going to be built by technology, obviously, it's a bit disappointing to see how not in concern seems the environment to be. And there were also a lot of conferences, and what I was happy to find out was that there was a lot of talk about gender equality, which is obviously another subject, but the environment was really missing there. So I'm very happy to see that big companies like Microsoft have that deep concern and will include that in any tech development that they're going to do. But it's true that when you see that now everyone using video conference, and it's using a lot of bandwidth. And so even though we don't take our car, now we're using more and more data, and a lot of people use Netflix more than before, and so on. So it's kind of a schizophrenia, because we feel that technology could be the answer, as we said, as all of you said earlier, with all those captors, how we can monitor the energy we spend, but on the other hand, there is also this type of very big, usage of data, and I don't know if regulation is a solution, but I don't know, maybe what do you think? How do you see how we can balance, this high usage of technology and make it still good for the environment? I don't know if one of you has any answer to that.
I mean, all the technologies, we really go cutting edge when we're talking about the cost of running computation and the cost of connecting. So we actually have started with experimenting putting data centers on the bottom of the ocean. So using actually the cold water for cooling down. We're looking much more on the edge. Edge computing is a new discipline which actually happened over the previous 5 years, and now it's going more and more and becoming more and more important, where we're bringing computation on microjoule of resources, let's say on the microcontrollers. So we're adding machine learning, artificial intelligence on the microcontroller, which is controlling the windshields of your car. So we're bringing all these mathematical operations very close to where the data is created, making sure that actually the operation is much more energy efficient than sending the data. Because Caroline, that was a really good point. I mean, we're generating so much data and then sending all the data to the cloud, obviously costs. I mean, that costs carbon. So what we do is bringing the computation very close. So adding on-device artificial intelligence. So a lot of the audio and video is actually optimized for transmission on the device that you're using, so we don't overutilize bandwidth. And then again, all these emerging trends like data centers fully powered by renewable energy, data centers going north, so using all the natural resources actually to cooling down, bringing data centers to the bottom of the ocean, getting all that connectivity to be everywhere, to be very much efficient, and again, edge computing to complement the cloud. And speaking about technology trends, that's probably going to be one of the top technology trends for the next 5 years. Actually getting all that intelligence very close to you on the very edge of the internet where the real world starts. So these are all things that we see happening as we speak.
Thank you, Mitko. It's really it's encouraging. What's also encouraging, I think, is to see some governments including in their incentive the impact that the innovation has on the environment. It's the case in Italy. I think in Europe, that was the first country who improved the amount of R&D tax credits if a company shows that the technology is going to be improving the environment or helping improving the environment and the impact. We also have several incentives in different countries, and it's the case in France, for instance, where there are a lot of incentives on the energy transformation, which allows a company like Leighton to help our clients change their industry technology so that it becomes less energy consuming, or to develop some kind of technologies like sail on cargoes that are now those new mobility, new technology in the mobility that are really interesting to look at. So just to complement the discussion you had before on those incentives, I agree that in a lot of countries, because we are at the center of that, in a lot of countries in Europe, there are a lot of incentive, R&D tax credit, and Kerem, you explained it for the UK, and it's actually the case in many countries like Spain, Italy, Germany now, Belgium, France, and so on. But it's true that there is no real consistency at a European level, except for grants, like Jaume, you were talking about the Green Deal from Europe, but it always seems so complicated to be able to get that. So I don't know if that's something that your businesses are expecting from governments, or if you feel that it's something that you need to sort out by yourself.
So I think, kind of going back to the previous comment, it's the reason you're not seeing all these technologies is actually the lack of enough incentives, mainly because it's the upside of investing in technologies to save the environment, protect the environment, is really to protecting the environment, having a better future, which does not really convert to enumerates into dollar value, dollar, right? So that's why it's hard for us. It's an expensive business to go into, but it must be done. However, it's hard to create a business and get enough financing around it to say that I'm going to build a technology that is going to save the environment, right? Because if you can't convert it into, revenue, it's not very interesting. That's why incentives are very critical. But the current incentives it's really spread around. Every government, every country has a different incentive. Now with Paris Climate Accord, there is some connection, there is some overall agreement that we need to do something about it, but really it's not really enforced or being incentivized at a global scale, right? I mean, I think we need to go to that next stage of these incentives. It needs to be multinational, more of a global approach to actually financially incentivize these people, these entrepreneurs, to actually go in and invest more in environment-related technologies. And I think that's what's lacking, but it's getting there. That's the good news.
I agree with you, Kerem. It's getting there. I think that at 2021 we will see in our governance budgets projects that are running in this direction. And ecosystem of producers, consumers, they are talking on how to build this new economy, how to change the status quo, the current status quo, because we need that. Okay, we need that.
Exactly.
It is currently happening, and I expect, for example, in Spain to see projects to change the way we produce, we use, and we share the energy, and also I expect the regulation to be on this way. For example, this is something that for sure will happen because we need it.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing those ideas on the subject. So, as Charles was saying, you can now, our guests, you can now ask questions directly if you want to. Just, I don't know, Charles, people raise their hand. How do you manage that?
You can send a direct message to all the panelists via our chat. So we've got a chat function here. And then we'll be able to answer those, or we will unmute your microphones also, so you'll be able to ask a question that way too. Let me just double check that we have unmuted them, or else it's going to be a very quiet Q&A. while we wait, I think everyone's unmuted now. So if you actually take your own mute off, I can see all of you on here now. So if you take your own mute off and you want to ask a question, we'll be able to hear that question. Or as I said, if you'd rather send us the question via the chat, then we'll answer that question also. So we have our first question through, which is, will the Green Plan for Europe be enough to finance all these changes that we've talked about?
There is a lot of money on the Green Deal and also the resilience funds on Europe. It's around 700,000 on direct help on the next 3 years to be shared across Europe. Europe is doubling the number, the incentives to recover the economy from the latest crisis. Okay, and I think it should be. The problem will be how to execute such number of projects in such shorter term. That will be the problem, and also to use these funds really on the right direction in order to change the structure of our economy. That's the main challenge I think that we will have. It will not only to be an expense, it should be an investment on the better future. And this is the way that it is structured, but it will be complex. And also will help every economy to go in this direction. But I think that it should be enough. It's a huge change on our environment, and it's an investment that we have not seen something at that level, at that bigger level.
Does anyone else have a view on the Green Plan amongst our panel?
I will add that the problem is, in this case, is not the amount of money, but the way that we are going to use it at the end, and this is really making the difference. And if you have discussed, I will answer to the next one, which is talking about AI and big data are very important for process improvement, but so it's for employee engagement. That's the key point, especially for a large corporation, large organization. Change management is a key, and the role of the top management, the role of the ambassador, so everything it's around change management, and the change management processes are well known in the bibliography and let's say in the course of management. This is the right time to apply these methods, because change management is a must if you want to succeed in taking the most of the benefits from digitization and digital innovation.
Picking up slightly from that point, one of the issues we didn't get around to discussing earlier is the human aspect and the fact that a lot of people may be worried about their jobs being replaced by technology. Mitko, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that. Are people being ridiculously afraid about this, because obviously technology has changed throughout history and people have still had jobs?
I mean, that's an excellent question, and I see it's like AI and big data. So because I'm really hands-on, so I really actually code, and I'm using all these resources to optimize data, clean up data. And artificial intelligence is still in kind of doing baby steps. So I always encourage people actually to go through any of the online educational courses around artificial intelligence, just to get hands-on experience and understand where is AI today. Because it's, again, baby steps. And at the moment, it's much more suitable actually to support the human work. I mean, replacing entirely human work, the technology is not there yet. Maybe it's not going to be there for the upcoming decades. So it's always supplementing human work. Obviously, we're much more productive now by using better communication, by using better tools like collaboration tools, integration across all the media like chat programs, etc. it helps us be more productive, and it doesn't really replace the human as is.
That's a very interesting point, Mitko. And I saw an incredible graph, which unfortunately I can't share with you today, showing the number of hours worked and the productivity in major nations across the world. And in general, the GDP per capita has gone up very, very much. And the number of hours that people have to work has gone down a lot. Jaume, I'll ask you this question because I think it's quite an important one. In the future, will we actually not have to work as a result of technology? Will we have large swathes of society who won't have to work?
I think that it is more a sci-fi question on our future. If we don't have to work, why we will have to live, or how we have to live? Okay, I know. I think that artificial intelligence it's a facilitator. It's something that it would change our life. I discussed it several days ago with my father around artificial intelligence. Okay, and he said, you know that with all these elements, the people will not work. What will do these people? And I answered that on his generation also there was an industrial revolution. There was a revolution on the mobility. And this doesn't imply that the people didn't work. The people work differently, and I think that our society will change. We will work less hours for sure. Our insights will be more productive or more valuable. Okay, because artificial intelligence will not change the creativity and the sense that have the human beings. Okay, I think that I am not terrific about the future of the humanity. But, I think that it's not Terminator kind of picture with what we are heading on. Okay, that's the point.
Fabulous, thank you very much. And I think we've got another question here, which is around: are we in the stage of digitalization or digital transformation? Yeah, quite an important distinction here. And this question around, are we able to be 100% digital in the world? Interesting enough, I will go back to Mitko, but I'm going to ask Kerem about this, but I remember a few years ago, Microsoft did an incredible publicity stunt. Actually, it's quite a long time ago, it's probably 15 years, where they put 4 people in a glass box and saw if they could live entirely off the internet. And this is back in the early days of the internet, for a week, and they managed to live for a week. They managed to order things and things like that. So the question of whether we can have 100% digital existence, but I am going to ask Kerem on this before I go to Mitko.
Yeah, I mean, if you choose to have it, I think you can. I don't know about 5 years. I think it might be a little early. I mean, in the early sense, then, if you want a complete replica of yourself, 5 years is early for that. Although, you know, it's not too far behind. So, I mean, even today, if you wanted some kind of digital replica, you could have it. People wouldn't be able to communicate with you properly. But I think it will happen. I'm sure it will happen. We just need to figure out the timing for it. But I mean, things have been speeding up at an incredible pace. I mean, we were started 3 years ago when, you know, neural networks were kind of like kicking in, and then when we started, a lot of the people in the industry, in the text-to-speech industry, said what we wanted to achieve was not achievable for 5 to 7 years, and we achieved it in about 2 years. So it's hard to predict, but I would say 5 years is still early because there's a lot of the cognitive part of the AI that's still missing. AI is really good at replicating stuff, but necessarily, you know, generate. You know, there is obviously stuff that's happening with GPT-3, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But it will happen. It will happen.
Mitko, I'll just bring you in on this because you look at areas like quantum computing and these sort of, you know, these very sort of technical areas. Is the limitation on AI and machine learning and these sort of very futuristic technologies, is the limitation just one of computing power, or is it one of programming? Is it one of learning? You know, what's stopping this from happening today, and how is it going to be solved?
Yeah, so today we actually have unlimited compute. I don't think we actually have enough tasks to optimize the compute that we actually have access to worldwide. It takes time. So obviously everything that has a beginning should have an end. And it will be also for the human work. So it transformed the human society to what we know today. And obviously at some moment in the future, it will transform also the people to be more creative. So you can do things that, I mean, are sparking your creativity, things which are really important for you and not really have to go and do 9-to-5 job. This is going to happen when? Maybe in a distant future, a couple of generations of now. Can we live without tech? Yes, absolutely. A lot of people are doing it even today. I mean, they're taking the conscious decision that they want to be off-grid, not online, which is, again, if it makes them happy, why not?
Saúl, can I pull you in at this point, because I think there's an interesting point about technology and energy. And curious enough, I was reading the other day that mining Bitcoin, we talked earlier about distributed ledger technology and blockchain, and apparently the energy cost of mining Bitcoin around the world is greater than Switzerland's annual energy usage. So my question to you, Saúl, is you know, how can technology reduce costs, but at the same time, do we need to keep an eye on technology using up too much energy or data at the same time as we're using energy to improve sustainability?
Yes, for sure. The answer it's around optimization. So it's there are some trends that in fact are driven by economical reason, business reason, and then government and try to influence these trends. But we know now we are in a world where we have some trends that start because they're driven by technology, by behavior, and so on. So the answer is for any topics around optimization, and for sure, digitization, automation, and help to optimize any process that at the end is consuming energy for a certain scope. I understood. I know. I'm conscious that my answer is pretty generic, but in fact, there are some trends that I think that cannot be stopped. Maybe influenced, yes, but cannot be stopped. In the way that we manage and we optimize, everything is behind these trends. It's the way to be followed.
Excellent, thank you very much. We've got a couple of interesting questions. So one, I'm not sure if the panel has seen this, is a very good question, which is in 5 years' time, will we not be hosting this panel? Will we not be here? Will we be replaced by virtual avatars? You know, very important question. I mean, I presume when we say avatars, I hope you don't mean avatars like the Hollywood movie where it was 8-foot-tall blue creatures, but representations of ourselves. Is this likely to happen, or ultimately, will we still want to talk to people, to real people? That's my question. Mitko, I don't know if you've got a thought on that.
I mean, obviously, we're going to get to the place where we're going to have the technological singularity event, where actually the technology is going to change so much the human society that it will be hard to understand who is human and who is like a tech and hologram. It's not going to be in 5 years of now. Definitely in 5 years, we're going to get much more hints when we speak. So I see much more mixed reality coming in. So in 5 years from now, for sure, I mean, I'll see much more information on my glasses and a lot of things that I'm trying to remember at the moment, like numbers and like the Green Deal for specific country, it will just get visualized. So I'll have everything on top of my kind of my vision. But still getting to a full avatar, which is be able actually to communicate based on my knowledge and my personal persona and consciousness. I mean, the true technological singularity, it will take a couple of more decades, I bet.
May I put another point on view on that question? Is how about it? We will train the avatars of our audience in trying to speed up their awareness of the things. It's something, perhaps it's the opposite way, okay?
Well, if I could bring in Kerem, you have technology today, don't you? That you know, it means that you can replicate voices very, very effectively. We've all seen on YouTube deep fakes where people are able to replicate. I could put President Obama's face on mine. I would elect not to put President Trump's face on mine. But this sort of technology, is advancing really quite quickly, isn't it, Kerem? So how far away are we?
I mean, replication piece is already there, right? You can replicate someone's face, and you can do lip syncing. You can make them speak in other languages with synthetic voice. There are companies, we have customers actually who are doing that. But it's right now limited to that, cloning, replicating, and that's it, right? So you can technically create your own digital clone, but you would still have to be the mind behind it, right? So you would, you would have to know what you're going to say and then convert it into, make the avatar speak for you. But I think the question is more about, can you create your own avatar and kind of like let it run as a replica of you, have its own mind, think exactly what you're thinking, interact, and that's we're not even close to that.
We just had an excellent question through, which I think is, we touched on a little bit earlier, which is whether or not digitalization, rather than closing the gaps, may actually lead to greater division, as some disadvantaged groups fall behind. So the digitally inclusive economy will advance away. Very, very valid point. How can we make sure this doesn't happen? Jaume, let me just.
Okay, I think that this is the most important thing. Okay, that technology will no longer only belongs to big companies. Technologies should arrive to the small and medium enterprise in order to be across the world, across the countries, across the economy. I think even big things at Amazon should be disrupted by small producers, small platforms that will discuss the supremacy of their position on the e-commerce, for example. And this is the only way to change this area is through digitalization, and also making this digitalization able to arrive to the all actors of the economy, even in the primary sector. For example, a lot of work, a lot of innovations that are going to the agriculture or the farmers in order to improve their productivity, and not only to help the big producers to take advantage of IoT, of artificial intelligence, or using data at scale. Okay, this is a huge thing. Okay, and but it's going. I think that we will losing, all of us will lose our jobs, because our jobs will change. There are studies that say that 50% of the jobs, the job architecture will change in the coming years. And our work will go in more global, more probably it not only will change the type of jobs, also the relationship between companies and employees. It will be more talent-oriented relationship, and not all year relationship that our fathers have. And the society is changing, the economy is changing, and the digitalization is accelerating the change. Okay, but the change will happen. The question is at which pace, and the pace is accelerating, only accelerating. Then let's use, because if not, being ahead of this change is worst, because you will be out of the business. And we need to change this kind of difference between the big companies, the big industries, against the small and medium-sized companies. That we need to be in this gap. That's the most important.
And to add, can I add to that, Charles? I mean, yeah, people are focusing on losing automation, replacing their jobs, but if you need to look from another perspective, that it will. I mean, we're advancing technologically, right? There's going to be space travel at some point, and something is going to. There's going to be new job opportunities. When the internet came, right? It's not like everybody's jobs were replaced in physical stores. It created new opportunities. It created social media. It created this whole vast of digitalization that created millions and millions of jobs. Now, obviously, with technology advancing, we're going to go to another revolution, a technological revolution, and it will create other types of jobs. And frankly, the ideal combination would be that people will have to work less make the same amount of money, like you're saying, they will still be productive. They will actually be more hopefully more social. They'll be happier because, frankly, I think we're working too much as human beings, and to making that more efficient, having different types of jobs and having people less, but everybody working at the same time. I think it's a possibility. It's hard to estimate what kind of jobs will be created, but I think that's what's going to happen. So we need to look at it on the positive side as well.
I think for those of you on the call who are interested, around about 7 years ago, the University of Oxford published a list of professions and which were most at risk of being automated by technology. So it's always good to go and look up your own job on there and see whether you need to start retraining for another job. I'm conscious of time, and we have what I think is an absolutely excellent question here for all of our panelists. And the question is, over the last 20 years, technology has had a really significant impact on children. Do you see this as being more negative or positive? Just before I go into some detail, as someone who has got a very small child, I see the benefits of screens in keeping a small child quiet hugely. So I am definitely on the side of technology here, but I would be very interested to hear the views of our panelists to whether or not technology is a positive or a negative for children. Kerem, if I can start with you.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old, so I'm well aware with homeschooling and everything now. Well, it has advantages and disadvantages. The advantages is that the amount of information they can absorb and learn is incredible. Like the stuff that he's learning so fast. When I had started, I go back and, I think I started reading learning reading around six or seven, and now he started at 4 years old, right? And the information that they can learn is incredible, and it kind of tells you that human brains are so complex and so incredible. If you actually can give them enough information, you will learn really fast and you will become smarter. And I think we're overall becoming smarter. However, on the negative side it goes back to the social impact, right? Now we have children preferring to spend time on their phones rather than socializing with each other. Now with pandemic, that actually obviously didn't help at all. So yeah, it has positives and negatives. Which one is worse? I would say the social negative impact is more significant. I think the negative is a little bit more than the positive, but kind of have to balance the two. And it's up to us as parents to manage that as much as we can.
Mitko, I don't know if you got any thoughts on that. Do you have children yourself?
Yes, actually, I have 3 kids, so I have a really good observation what's changing over the last 15 years for them. And one of my daughters, she actually has dyslexia, just like me. And I can compare her life today to my life when I was 12. And the technology actually enables her to be much happier and much more calm. Because when I was young, definitely that was a major challenge. Once you're slightly different than the mainstream, with the lack of technology, you don't have that many audiobooks, as Kerem said. Like, I still have the challenges with reading, so I love audio, I love video, because that gives me a lot of insights and knowledge, and I can participate the same way my kids are actually active today. So definitely I see much more benefits from the technological standpoint for all the, also for kids of my friends, just discussing with them. Obviously they're socializing much more digitally than us, but again, society is changing, so we have to adapt.
Excellent. Any other views from our panelists? I'm conscious of time now, and it's nearly 12:45 Central European time. Thank you very much.
Just to share my three kids, and I would like to share the experience with the daughter, which is today 17 years old. And when we were discussing 3 years ago what type of secondary school to choose, and then the discussion that we had with a lot of even professors in the university that I have the chance to meet is that the difference today is that in the past we used to base our school and our culture on the number of information that we know. The difference today is the way that we collect and connect information that we can that our children will have access in the future. And to answer to your to the point, to close my speech, is that at the end my daughter decided to do classic study, so not mathematical, because what we discovered is that to the classic study that we were able to make the connect the dot easier than the ones that comes from a pure mathematical approach. So I think that just to close, the way that our kids will be able to manage, to connect, and to build their opinion, connected information coming from different sources will make the difference in the future for them.
I agree. And on the other side, my son has chosen to do game design, so he definitely is going in the fashion fashion business. But what was amazing in this pandemic moment is that it's his first year at that school in a different city where we live. So he knows nobody, but when he arrived, he already had 3 parties, because they already had met each other on Discord or any other social network. And so he already knew everyone at the school, even though he hadn't met them. And then he was able to go to those parties directly. So I think our kids will find a way on the social part too, as could be a concern, to combine this, virtual and physical way of having human relationships. So I'm quite positive on this, even though it's a transformation. So some children are not there yet, but when I see some of them, they really, they do this so naturally that it can't be a concern. So I think that's also, something positive for our conclusion, that obviously there are a lot of challenges that are going to be brought by the technology, and it's already the case. But as we move forward, we also see the sunlight every time and new opportunities. So yeah, it's an exciting combination for the future, I think.
Yeah, Charles, it's only I have 2 princes, and this is only it is a tool that means you as father to understand what is this tool should be used. Okay, that's a problem. It's like you are feeding well or not, you are helping your children, your princess, to understand this tool to be used.
Excellent. Well, thank you all very, very much to our panel for their views. I think we've left it on the perfect note, talking about children, and children are the future. Technology is the future and children are the future. We've had an incredibly exciting discussion today about the cutting edge trends and the way they're shaping our society. I think we can all agree that there is a very positive and exciting future for everyone, and technology is going to be a key part of that. So thank you hugely to Mitko, to Saúl, to Jaume, and to Kerem for their time today, and to Caroline also, and to the team at Leighton, and for such a rich discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thanks for having us. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very much.
Bye-bye.